Hey everybody, Zero here, and this is a video review of the 60 GB backwards compatible PlayStation 3. Now, a lot of people come to my store and they ask me, if I buy a PS3, will it play PS2 games? And we have to tell them, no, they don't, but the older ones did, and it's kind of confusing. And sometimes people come in and say, I have an older PS3, how do I know if it does play PS2 games? And then that's even more confusing because there were about 3 different versions that were backwards compatible. I think the 20 GB was, the 60 GB was, and one of the releases of the 80 GB was. They re-released the 80 GB later, and that was no longer backwards compatible. So basically, this is my 60 GB, and how you can tell it apart is a few key differences. Obviously, aside from going into the system menu and looking at the storage space size and seeing that there's 60 gigs. First thing you're going to notice is, well, first of all, this is obviously the older model. It's not the Slim, so it's a lot larger and it's got a gloss finish. That's how all the older models are, though. One thing that sets this aside from some of the other earlier versions is there was a high-end version and a low-end version in the beginning when it released. I don't remember what the gigabytes was on the low-end version. I don't remember if it was the 20 or the 40. I think it was 20, but that was like all black. Like the whole system was black. It didn't have all the fancy trim. The 60 has chrome trim here, and the PlayStation 3 logo is chrome and is also embossed, which means that you can feel it with your finger. Also, the buttons are touch sensitive, and you got this little PlayStation logo that you can spin. And later on, they re-released the PlayStation 3 in different gigabytes, like 80 and I believe they did like 160 actually of the older one. But on those ones, it's not real chrome. Like, see how you can see the reflection down here? Instead of chrome, they replaced it with just like silver, like sprayed on silver paint. And this was actually flush with the system itself. You wouldn't feel the letters. It would just be flat, and it was just painted on silver. So that's one of the big differences. Also, this right here, on all the other versions of the PlayStation 3, it's just a piece of plastic. But on the 60 GB, it opens up, and you have memory card slots up the wazoo. You have your SD card slots and all that stuff like that, which is kind of handy. But another difference is that, let's say someone's got the 80 GB and they want to know if it's backwards compatible or not. Does it have 4 USB ports or 2? Because if it only has 2, it's the newer system and it doesn't play PS2 games. As you can see, mine has 4, and I believe they also rearranged the ports, like on the back of the system, like where the outlet plugs in and or where the power plugs in and Ethernet cable and all that. They like switched it from one side to the other. I don't really know what the other one looks like. I just know what mine looks like. So yeah, this is the bulking behemoth original system, but it's got the touch buttons. All you have to do is just lightly glide your finger over it, and it's got the pretty little lights, and it boots up and does all that good stuff. Same thing with the eject button. You just tap it, but there's a game in there. I was playing Shadow the Hedgehog for PS2. Completely forgot about that. So yeah, you wouldn't be able to play a PS2 game if you had, one of the other systems that wasn't backwards compatible. Now, another thing is that even though the system is backwards compatible, it's not fully backwards compatible. And this doesn't just go for PS2 games, this also goes for PS1 games. There are a lot of games that won't play, or won't play properly, and you can actually look up a list of that if you go to Google and type in the list of, PS compatible games on PS3. There's a official Sony website you can go to, and you can type in the name of the game, and it'll tell you if it comes up with the name, it means it plays, and if it says no results found, it means it doesn't play. For example, I tried playing Chrono Cross for PlayStation 1 the other day on this, and it does not work. It boots up the game, but then once you get to the title screen and the music starts playing, it slows down really, really bad, and you can't get past the title screen. So I don't know if it's like bad emulation on the system's part or whatever, but a lot of those games don't work, and that's probably a reason that a lot of those good PS1 games are still not in the PlayStation Store, is because they probably haven't gotten them to work on the PS3 yet. And I don't think they're really concerned with working on it that much. They're worried about like newer stuff. All those people, waiting and crossing their fingers, hoping for a firmware update where they can play PS2 games. I don't think it's ever going to happen. Sony did file a patent for those rights, but I don't think they're ever going to bother doing it. But compared to the newer PS3s, the newer ones are obviously slimmer. They're obviously quieter. They do save power. They use less power consumption. I don't like the matte finish. Sometimes matte finish is okay. Sometimes I don't mind it. But just the shape and the size and the style of the system, I think it looks ugly on that particular, system. Also, the system is sized really weird. Even though it is a lot lower, like they pretty much eliminated all this bottom space down here, kind of like they did on the old PS2 to PS2 Slim. Even though the system's only about like that tall, it's still just as deep, if not maybe like half an inch deeper. It looks really awkward because it's just so long that it makes it look fat. It's thinner, that way, but it's really, really big still from front to back. I don't like, how you can barely see the logo because it's just black on black on the Slim. And I also don't like how they got rid of all the chrome, got rid of, the little PlayStation logo, got rid of the touch buttons. I think it's actually a complete step backward in as far as aesthetic design. I think Microsoft had the right idea when they did the Slim Xbox 360, and they pretty much followed everything that Sony had originally done with the PS3. They did the opposite. They went from matte finish and push-in buttons to glossy black finish with chrome trim and touch-sensitive buttons. So like the way the PS3 used to be, that's how the Xbox 360 Slim is now. So I think they had the right idea there. Sony should have stuck with that and just made the system smaller but kept the glossy finish and the chrome and the touch buttons and all that, because I think that's much more aesthetically pleasing. People say that the older systems break down and they overheat and stuff like that. As you can see, I have a Wii next to mine. There's vents on, this is the side with the hard drive. There's vents on this side and there's vents in the back. I've never had a problem with my system overheating, and I've had it, forever. This is obviously an original 60 gigabyte. I don't know, man. If you take good care of your stuff, hopefully it won't break unless it's, an old 360. So, I mean, these are hard to come by now. We do have one at my store, a used one. Obviously, they don't make them new anymore. But they ask for a ridiculous price for them. You could probably find one cheaper online, but if you want some backwards compatibility, if you don't have a PS2 anymore, or you want the memory card slots, or you just like the way the system looks in general, I highly recommend the 60 gigabyte model. I would even go as far as to recommend it over the Slim, just by a hair, especially now that the Slim does come in larger gigabyte sizes. The smaller size now is, instead of 120, it's 160, and instead of 250 for the larger end model, it's 320, I think. But you can always replace the hard drives. These come right out, and you can always put your own in, so that's not really an issue. As far as this system itself, if you ever manage to get your hands on one or you want to, I highly recommend it. In my opinion, the 60 gigabyte is the best version. It is the optimal version of the 360, or of the PS3 that you can get. I love mine, and that's all I have to say about that. I did an unboxing for the Slim, but I didn't really review it. But I just wanted to review the 60 gigabyte since it was kind of unique. And that's it. I'll see you guys in the next video.